So today we're diving into a really fascinating idea from the work of Michael L. Matthews. What if the light you let into your mind, we're talking both physical light and the spiritual light of your thoughts, what if that doesn't just show you the world, but actually creates it?
So let me just ask you a question, a really big one to start things off. Is the world that you're seeing right now actually real?
Well, the answer from modern neuroscience is kind of shocking. It's no. Not in the way we usually think anyway. The world you're experiencing is actually this incredibly sophisticated simulation, a model of reality that's constructed entirely inside your head. All right, so how is this even possible? Let's break it down, starting with the science. We're going to look at the reality your brain builds and how 86 billion neurons are working around the clock to construct your entire universe.
I mean, the scale of this is just mind-boggling. Your brain is running on about 86 billion neurons. Now, what's fascinating is that research, highlighted in places like Popular Mechanics, shows us that these neurons didn't evolve to give you a perfect picture of the world. Nope, they evolved to build a useful model for survival. And here's the real kicker. Scientists have shown they can directly change this model, our very perception of reality, just by sending controlled pulses of light into our brain cells. Light is literally the tool the brain uses to sculpt what we see.
And this brings us to this really powerful metaphor from Matthew's work. I want you to think of your mind as a camera. Your beliefs, your emotions, what you choose to focus on, all of that acts as the lens, and that lens determines what kind of reality you end up capturing. This just nails it, doesn't it? Our internal state is the filter. Your brain is constantly sifting through just mountains of sensory data, and it prioritizes what it expects to see and what it thinks is important. So your experience is a direct reflection of what's going on inside you.
This leads us to an incredible concept. Light, in all its forms, is basically the building block. You could even call it the currency of your consciousness. So the light you choose to focus on, whether that's the light of truth and hope or the shadows of fear and cynicism, it literally becomes the raw material your brain uses to build your world. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because this is the point where modern neuroscience starts to sound a whole lot like ancient wisdom. Let's build that bridge right now, from science to spirit. Okay, so on the science side, we have a hard fact. We know physical light isn't just passive. It's an active ingredient that can physically change the structure and the function of your brain. Now, hold that thought and consider this ancient declaration from Scripture. God is light. What if, as Matthew suggests, that's not just poetry? What if it's a statement about metaphysical reality? If there's another form of light, a spiritual one, that works on us in a very similar way?
I mean, look at this. This slide puts the parallel right there in front of us. Science talks about physical light rewiring our neural pathways. Spiritual traditions talk about spiritual light renewing the mind. So the question is, are they just describing the same fundamental process of transformation, but using different languages?
And we're not talking about some vague, fuzzy idea here. Just like physical light has a whole spectrum of colors, Matthews describes a spectrum of divine light, and it's made up of energies like wisdom, joy, and love. These aren't just seen as nice virtues, they're seen as tangible forces that can literally recalibrate our entire being. So what happens when we intentionally bring these two worlds together? When scientific education meets spiritual revelation? Well, you get a uniquely powerful form of enlightenment.
This table lays it out beautifully. Look, on its own, education can just be a bunch of information without any real transformation. And religion, by itself, can become just a ritual without any true understanding. But when you combine them, education becomes a tool to actually train your brain toward truth, and religion equips your intellect with spirit. That's a powerful synergy.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how does it actually work? Let's get practical and look at how you can apply all this to actively rewire your own inner world. It really boils down to a three-step process. First up, awareness. You've got to realize that you are an active creator, not just a passive observer. Second, attention. You have to make a conscious choice about the light, the thoughts, the ideas, the content that you allow in. And finally, transformation. Understand that this choice isn't just a mental exercise, it is a physiological process that literally, physically changes your brain. You know, this passage from Scripture just captures the idea so perfectly. Your internal posture, your sense of wonder and belief, it has a direct physical and spiritual effect. It determines whether your inner world is full of light
And this is the choice we're making all day, every day. When you focus on the light, on things like joy, peace, clarity, you are strengthening those neural circuits. But when you focus on darkness, anxiety, stress, division, you're strengthening those. The power to change your life is literally in where you decide to point your inner spotlight.
And hey, if the creative power of light still seems a little out there, check this out. Scientists recently used lasers to create something called a super solid, proving that physical light can be both a liquid and a solid at the same time. Now, if physical light is that powerful and that reality-bending, just imagine the creative potential of the spiritual and mental light that you direct with your focus every single day. So we end up right back where we started, but now with a completely new understanding. Your reality isn't fixed, it's fluid, it's constantly being shaped by the light you allow to enter your consciousness. And so, the only question left, the only one that really matters, is the one right here on the screen. What will you let in?